Okay. So, welcome to another one of our interviews. Thank you for joining us. And first, tell us your name and your job title.
My name is Pamela Foster. Job title is IT Mergers and Acquisitions Lead.
And where do you work?
I work in Wilmington, Delaware at the Chestnut Run Plaza.
For DuPont. That's DuPont's big headquarters in the
Yes,
world. So,
exactly. Sorry, that
exciting
is
stuff.
DuPont.
Yeah, yeah. Exciting stuff. So, now let's take a step back from today and go way, way back. And Pam, can you tell us about the first job you ever had?
The first job I ever had, I was a cashier at a grocery store. The job was way, way back, and it was before the digital age. So it was the old um, cash register where you actually had to push the buttons. Not a screen button, but just the old cash register, no new technology or anything of that sort.
Did you have
Everything.
to do math in your head?
I did have to do some math in my head. I did. In which math was not my strongest suit, so that did um, help in regards to upping that skill in regards to math.
Yeah,
So it
that would
was
scare me today.
yeah. The funny thing is, if you ever go in a grocery store, and I still do this today, they have this process called blocking, and that's where they move all the products on the shelf to the front with the labels faced correctly. So anytime the store didn't need all cashiers online, I did what they call blocking. And so today, when I go into a grocery store, that's the first thing I think about.
Old habits die hard.
Yes, yes, yes.
So then, from your days of blocking, which clearly are still very much within you, right deep in there, tell us about what your job consists of today. What's sort of an average day, if you could sum it up?
So, an average day in mergers and acquisitions, which in essence is, again, I work for DuPont, and there's other large corporations, and they have a how do they grow? Their revenue, product lines, or what have you. And a lot instead of building a new manufacturing plant. And this is the new wave and new strategy for not only DuPont, other large corporations as well, as they would go and buy another company, which is deemed as an acquisition. And or if they decide, if it's not a buy a new company, they may decide to come together, which means merge together into one company. So, in a day for me, a day in the life is a term that's currently used in corporate America when people ask this question, well, what do you do? Could vary. We could be in the middle of a deal, meaning deal just what I'm saying. I want to go now buy this other company to grow my company. It could be what we would say meeting with prospective buyers in regards to one, if they decide to, if we decide to buy a company, and then on that term, they would be sellers, we would be buyers, right? So we would meet with the seller to get information, particularly in IT, is how and what our strategy would be to bring these new companies into DuPont. So that could be a day in the life, and in that form or in that process, it's called due diligence, where you meet to understand what they're selling. Does it fit with what we need to grow our overall strategy? So that's kind of a day in the life of in one of the process steps is in mergers and acquisitions.
So you're making sure all those products have all those labels out, in other words, in a really big, big, big way
In a really, really
now.
big, big, big way, yes. And it's this industry or the mergers and acquisitions are global. So we can be dealing with people in China, in Japan, in Germany, Switzerland, or where have you. So it's just not in the US. And so that's one of the fun aspects of mergers and acquisitions is that you're dealing globally with a lot of different people. You meet a lot of different people from different backgrounds as well. You don't necessarily have to speak a foreign language. You do pick up some of the pleasantries that in our roles that you would need, the basic hellos and thank yous and what have you, because part of this as well is relationship building. So you really need to build a relationship with the seller and the persons that you're going to go through this deal with. So that's another fun aspect of this is that it is a global a role that not focused necessarily in the U.S.
Can you say hello to everyone in a different language for us?
Uh, Konnichiwa is good morning in Japanese. Of course, most people know hola in Spanish. And basically, in some European countries, they speak English fluently, and so you don't necessarily have to, speak in French, which you can, au revoir, things of that nature. But and it sounds horrible for me, for some people, because I'm from the South, and so I have a Southern drawl, so my my foreign phonetics are a little off.
I don't have an excuse. Mine are just off. So tell us then, that's all really exciting. Tell us about the educational journey you took to get there.
Um, so I went to a community college. I studied business. And over the summer, I worked for DuPont when I was in Charlotte, because I originally from Charlotte, North Carolina. I relocated to Wilmington, Delaware in 1997. So it was a very circuitous route, meaning in that summertime, I actually worked in the mailroom. So I began to learn where all of the manufacturing plants were, and this was in the South, so it was all of our textile fibers businesses, which we divested. But of course, at the time, I wasn't thinking, to get into the mergers and acquisitions. So then from there, I moved into what they call a corporate buyer role, meaning I purchased products from A to Z for all of the sites in the South. Then I moved to Delaware and became part of the DuPont corporate procurement team, which I purchased engineered equipment because DuPont is an engineering firm, and all of our and primarily most of our products in a manufacturing location that make Tyvek or Nomex or any of the other products, Kevlar, Calraz. They manufacture these products and they require very specialized parts for this equipment in order to make this. So that was my responsibility then. And again, all through this technology, digital age, none of that was in existence. Things were starting to come into play. And I got interested in IT because my background was not IT, but because I was in sourcing, sourcing began to start looking at other technology in regards to how we buy and what we use. So that's how I got into start getting into IT. I worked on a project to implement a e-procurement system in sourcing. So from there, I started like, hey, I like IT stuff. And I began to work on SAP projects. And again, SAP project is a enterprise resource planning system, also known as acronyms, which we love in corporate America, ERP.
We do.
Yeah, and I worked for a business at the time was DuPont Chemical Solution Enterprise, which we spun off. So we divested that business as well, but still not thinking, I wanted to get into the mergers and acquisitions space. And until we did that, then it became an idea that, hey, I've got procurement background, knowledge and information. And in these spaces, when you spin off a company or divest a company, there's a supply chain from a buy, make, sell. So from a buy perspective, I had the background and knowledge to be able to support those kind of projects. So after that, then I started thinking, maybe I should try getting into mergers and acquisition team. And so I did, and I actually loved it because you got to be in on the front part of the deal, doing the due diligence, as I was mentioning earlier, understanding what we're one either divesting or acquiring, what's going to be needed, from an IT perspective. And so that's kind of how I ended up in mergers and acquisitions. It was not that I went to college to be a merger and acquisition IT person. It's because I work for DuPont, which is a large corporation, which allows you many, many opportunities to um, get into different aspects of the business or what have you.
Yeah, that's so cool that the beginning of your career is so different than where you are today. And that just shows people that, no matter where you start, you can go in so many different places. So you just got to start is the main
Yes,
thing.
yes.
So what advice then would you give to kids today who are thinking about the future?
The advice I would give the kids would be the same advice that I gave my two daughters. Was that you will go to college, you will get a degree, and what you decide to do with that is totally up to you. And the reason I pushed that is because what a lot of people, and some people may view college not for them, but what you learn in college, one is one, you learn discipline and commitment and reliability because no one's there to tell you to get out the bed and go to school. And so with those, employers and even yourself will begin to feel about yourself. Degree is what I would view as two things. One, it's currency. Currency not in the form and shape of money, but currency in the form of you as an individual can go into an interview with a degree. So you now got to the interview. Whereas before, you probably wouldn't have got into the interview, but you got currency. I've got a degree, I've got a diploma in X, whatever that may be. And that also shows the interviewer that you were dedicated, that you were committed, and that you're reliable because you did have to do that. And you had to do that on your own because nobody was there to push you. Um, and so the advice I would give kids today is get your currency, get your degree. You may not use that particular degree, but that's something no one can ever take from you. And what you decide to do with that will be lifelong choices that you can make. And the other thing that I would say, because the world is so different than when I and or others that you may meet through this video chats or what have you, is just that it's different. You guys are into, Instagram and uh, probably not Facebook. I understand now that's old book.
It's TikTok now.
Exactly. And so, and you can see people out there, they're starting to be more entrepreneurial, right? They're taking what they know, maybe what they've learned and what they had a degree in, and they're starting to network with other different people, which is very critical as well. Expand your network. Do not stay focused into one group of persons or people. It's like I said earlier, working for DuPont allowed me to engage with people around the world and even travel the world. I've been to Japan, I've been to Luxembourg, I've been to Spain, I've been to Germany, Mexico, a lot of places I wouldn't have thought about even going, but because it was work related, it gave me an opportunity to see the world, to see other cultures, which is critical. Do not box yourself in. Take advantage. You may be in college and there is an opportunity, to take a class that's abroad. Go, go for it. If you don't have the money, figure out how to get the money. You've got to be very you got to be very take ownership for who you are, and what you want to do. Because that's one thing you're going to learn in life as you get out of your parents' home. You got to do it for yourself. You have to want it for yourself. So that would be the advice that I would give the kids is that, you decide what's your purpose, what's your passion. And you're only going to figure these things out is when you start engaging with different people and networking with different people. And so that would be the advice that I would have for kids today.
I love that. That's amazing. Well, thank you so much, Pam, for all of this. This is great.